Good afternoon from Kiev. I'm afraid the news is not good. CNN are reporting that the Russians have got control of the Antonov airbase, which is a few miles from the center of Kiev. And we keep on asking the Ukrainian side, is that so? And they're not answering the question. But CNN have filmed Russian boots on the ground. Driving's gone crazy. It always happens when war bites a country. Kiev it's not exactly empty, but it's emptying. And there's one more grim piece of news, and that is that Russian forces coming from Belarus have penetrated the Chernobyl nuclear zone. So the Ukrainian side are fighting, and they're fighting hard, and there are some successes, and I've put up tweets about those successes. But in general, it looks as though for the moment the bully is overpowering the weakling. Take care and good luck from Kiev. The worst is yet to come. Kyiv is quiet, the electricity is still on, the internet is still on, there are no Russian tanks in my street, and I'm still wearing my lucky orange hat. There was one big crump in the night, I suspect, outgoing Ukrainian air defense. That said, the news from the rest of the country is not good. In the south, the city of Kherson has appeared to have fallen to the Russian invaders. Worse than that, the Russian army has pushed out of its base in the south and is seeking to encircle the city of Kyiv and trapping everybody who's left here. And on their way, in the night, they were shelling Europe's largest nuclear reactor plant. I believe the nuclear reactor is still in the hands of the Ukrainians, but nevertheless, this is dark stuff. The reason why I introduced this by saying the worst is yet to come is that President Macron of France had an hour-long phone conversation with Putin, and I know this sounds bizarre, but I know people who were close to the Kremlin watchers in the Elysee Palace, and they say that it was not good. That Vladimir Putin thinks that everybody here has been brainwashed. Now, thanks to the Church of Scientology, I'm a world expert on brainwashing. You can read my book, Scientology, The Church of Fear. And brainwashing, for it to succeed, you've got to have a pretty much totalitarian kind of grip on the minds of your subjects. And you have no tolerance of humor or mockery. That describes what's happening in Russia, not here. These people here aren't brainwashed. Kyiv is defended, Ukraine is defended, but we're in trouble. Tough old day for Ukraine, for Kyiv. A little bit for me. Quick drink. Oh, thank God for alcohol. Oz, my pal, and I, we went down to the river, the Dnieper. We heard there'd been some fighting. The Russians are there. Take the tube because we can't get a car. Arsenal tube station full of Ukrainians hiding from the Russian army. 2 little kids and a dog. Incredibly sad. It's the 21st century, I can't believe it. We get up, walk along the river. Oz and I split up. I go on the Jeremy Vine show, blah, 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 blah. Oz is ahead of me. I'm carrying on doing videos. Ukrainian soldiers said, stop, stop, stop. And I just say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm arrested by the Ukrainian army, and they accuse me of being a Russian spy. And I said, just have a look at my Twitter picture, and you'll see, me challenging Vladimir Putin. I am not a Russian spy. Anyway, I was detained. My passport and phone were taken from me. They took me to the Ukrainian intelligence, and eventually they worked it out. that I wasn't a Ukrainian spy. Vladimir Putin is driving these people mad. However, I think the person who is in trouble is not President Zelensky of Ukraine. It's not even John Sweeney, who spent an hour or two in the Ukrainian intelligence service headquarters. The person in trouble is Vladimir Putin. He has not sold this war to his people, and they don't like it. And he's not hitting Kiev with all that he could because I think he's afraid to do so. So, Vladimir Putin, you're in trouble. Good night. Kyiv Diary, day 10 of Vladimir Putin's war. The electricity is still on, the internet is still on. There are no Russian tanks in my street or anything like it, and I'm still wearing my lucky orange hat. R.I.P. Shane Warne. An Aussie, yes, but a brilliant cricketer. And I think, or I'm beginning to think, that the Ukrainian army might have played a kind of Shane Warne style blinder in that they have leg spin bowled, they have stumped the Russian armoured column coming this way. What does Putin do? He could smash this place with rockets. He could nuke this place. But listen, I'm a Monty Python fan. I always look on the bright side of life. It's possible. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's in trouble. I think Russia doesn't like this war. And the longer Kyiv and Ukraine holds out, the worse it gets for Putin. By the way, thanks to everybody who's funding me on Patreon. I've got a translator and a driver now. Costs money. Obviously, I'm buying vodka. But I'm putting it back, the money you're giving me, into the local economy. Love from Kiev. Welcome to life. 2 newborns sheltering from the Russian army in the basement, Kyiv Children's Hospital. Alyona is a physiotherapist working with sick kids. Do you think Vladimir Putin, the people in the Kremlin, have any idea of their cruelty, of their trouble they are making for ordinary people here?
Як ви думаєте, чи має Володимир Путін та люди в Кремлі...
Bye-bye, are you off? Hey, wave goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye, little fella.
Чи мають вони уяву про той жах, який відбувається з звичайними людьми?
В цих людей немає ні душі, нічого, тому тут немає слів, як коментувати.
I think such ruthless people, such cruel people who let their troops come into our country and harm and kill ordinary people have no soul and have no dignity to do so. If they do, so they just don't know what's going on here.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your work, and good on you, and good luck to you and the children you look after.
Тримаємось, ми переможемо.
We will win.
I bloody hope so. So this is the basement of the dialysis unit, and because of the fear of Russian missiles, all of the children on dialysis have been moved down to the basement. You can see the clown is entertaining them here, and that humour, that spirit makes me cry. But the reality is there's about 20 kids down here, and they're on dialysis machines. Because there's something wrong with their kidneys, and normally this is entirely treatable and fixable, and it's going to be okay. But because of Vladimir Putin's war, if these children move, they may die. But if they stay here, they may die. And all of that is down to Vladimir Putin. This is monstrous. Who do you think is going to win? The Russians or the Ukrainians?
Як ви думаєте, хто виграє?
Ну, я абсолютно впевнений, що переможе Україна, тому що вся Україна, весь народ України піднявся на захист нашої держави. І можна перемогти армію, але не можна перемогти усю країну, коли вона спирається.
I'm absolutely positive that our country, our army is going to win, but the army can be won, but the people and the whole country are standing against him.
The Kremlin says that the government here is neo-Nazi. What do you say to that?
Кремлін каже, що наш уряд – це неонацисти. Що ви на це скажете?
Наш український? Ні, це неправда. У нас свободна демократична країна, в нас поважаються релігійні погляди усіх конфесій, зокрема в тому числі і мусульман. В нас в Україні немає утисків за релігійною або національною ознакою. До війни я був імамом, і от з цього мінбару я щоп'ятниці проголошував проповіді, я закликав до єдності, любові, братерства. А зараз, коли війна, ми всі маємо захищати нашу країну і наших дітей.
No, that's not true. Because our country tolerates any confessions that you can hear here. And as me, before the war, each Friday I was doing confessions, I was doing prayers here, and tolerating and welcoming all of the religious confession. But now, as we are in a military situation, we have to stand up to the enemy.
Good luck and thank you.
Дякую вам.
Україна переможе.
Ukraine will win.
Salam alaikum.
Ва алейкум салям.
The war is getting closer to the heart of Kiev every day. So I'd like to say to the politicians in the West, get a fucking move on. These people need, in no order, helmets and flak jackets and ambulances and rifles and guns and tanks and planes. Vladimir Putin is coming for them. And if Ukraine falls, then Vladimir Putin will come for you. I'm an old war reporter, and I'm kind of been in places like this: Osijek, Dubrovnik, Sarajevo, Chechnya. I don't want to see it come here, but it is. So please, do something. Take care, and much love from Kiev. I have to say, a simple message to Vladimir Putin, and it's this. Mr. Putin, do fuck off. Hey. So, my friend Emil Gesson is giving me a lift home on his Vespa. Has anybody done the risk assessment? Hey.
Off you go, John.
Fuck off.
Time's up.
Fuck me, that was scary. Kiev Diary, day 17 of Vladimir Putin's war. The electricity is still on, the internet is still on, there are no Russian tanks on my street, Kreshatik, and I'm still wearing my lucky orange hat. So the bad news for Vladimir Putin is this, is the Ukrainians are standing firm. They have halted, stopped the two attacks on the city. In the centre it was more or less quiet last night, some air raid sirens, some crumps in the distance, nothing too frightening, nothing too close. So the pressure mounts on Putin. I believe, and I said this on day one of the war, that he's made a terrible mistake. And I think that is becoming more and more obvious. Number one mistake is to misread and misunderstand the true nature of Ukraine and its people's hunger for basic freedoms, democracy, the rule of law, a free press. Number two, the idea that his soldiers would be greeted here with flowers and parades. That was a dark nonsense. Number three, his own army has been shown to be a bit crap, frankly. They have not been good fighters. Their kit is old. Some of it, Ukrainians have found food kit, which is 7 years past its sell-by date. But there is another reason to be fair to the Russian soldiers who are abandoning their weapons, who are surrendering to the Ukrainians in big numbers. It's because this is not their war. It's Vladimir Putin's war. So it's beginning to be possible to think of a world without Vladimir Putin. It's beginning to be possible to think that Russia or somebody inside the Kremlin even might rise up against this man who's made a catastrophic mistake for Russia. At the moment, that mistake is being paid for in Ukrainian blood. Soon, things will change. Good luck from Kiev. Oh, and by the way, Stalin died in March. Kiev Diary, day 20 of Vladimir Putin's war. The best play I ever saw, ever, was Waiting for Godot in Sarajevo in 1993. And what was so incredibly moving about it was that, and it was in Bosnia, Serbia, Croat, so I didn't understand much, but what I did understand was the fear that gripped everybody in the audience, because you could hear the Milosevic Serb artillery smashing into the city while Vladimir and Estragon waited for Godot. And guess what? In 2022, here I am inside a brave and good democracy, and every now and then you can hear the crump of artillery, some of it from the Russian army, and this is a brave and good and bold democracy defending itself while waiting for the West to help them properly and effectively. So history repeats itself. The thing about Waiting for Godot is that Sam Beckett, who is a bit of a hero of mine, went to Nazi Germany in '36 and he didn't really get it, but he got the menace. And Waiting for Godot is an apology by him to not really understanding it. So it's a great, great piece of writing. But here's the other thing. Come on, the Western world. We've got to help these people effectively. We've got to do better with the economic war against Russia. And we've got to help these people with what they need. Waiting for Godot. Come on, West. Help Ukraine. We're in the middle of a 37-hour curfew. It's so quiet you can hear the ravens caw. Let's talk about Nazis. Nazis here in Ukraine, Nazis in Russia, Nazis in Britain, and Nazis on the internet. Yes, there are some Nazis in Ukraine. There are Nazis everywhere, but they're not in power. President Zelensky is Jewish. I went to the main synagogue in town here yesterday, and the chief rabbi said, the president's Jewish. This is absurd. He's not a Nazi. The government's not Nazi. But what the Russian government's doing, what the Kremlin is doing, it seems pretty Nazi to me. Yesterday, a 96-year-old survivor of the Holocaust who managed to get through Buchenwald and Belsen concentration camps was killed by the Russian army in Kharkiv. He was living in a residential block of flats, and so a Holocaust survivor, 96 years old, was killed by the Russian army. In terms of their propaganda, in terms of invading another country, that all feels pretty Nazi to me, i.e. that's what the Russians are doing. The other night, from this flat, I posted audio and video, you can see it, of the incoming shells hitting the suburbs, and somebody said R.I.P. John Sweeney. Now I don't know who that is because it's anonymous. It's part of the problems of social media. But that person too strikes me as a bit Nazi. Yeah, so there are far too many Nazis in the world, but they're fighting for the Russians. Kyiv Diary, day 39 of Vladimir Putin's war. In war, everything corrodes, including the quality of information. That said, the evidence from Bucha yesterday, to the northwest of here, is damning. Now, sometimes in Bosnia, for example, I know that what happened was that Serbs would put in an artillery shell, and the fragments would blast people to bits, but also leave marks on the dead. It looked as though they'd been tortured, whereas in fact it was just shells. So you need sort of proper forensic scientists in working for a war crimes unit to work out exactly how many dead. But there's no question at all that the people in Bucha who had their hands tied behind the back and had been shot, had been killed by the Russian army, this isn't new. If you think this is new, you haven't been paying attention. There were 3 people I knew, 3 Russians, who told the truth about Vladimir Putin's war in Chechnya and the reason it started. And their names were Anna Politkovskaya, Natasha Estemirova and Boris Nemtsov. Shot, shot, shot. For 22 years, the Western world has made a catastrophic mistake by living with Vladimir Putin and taking his dark Moscow gold, whereas we should have been standing up to him. Now this mistake is obvious to even the most stupid of people, that what we're dealing with is a Russian regime that commits war crimes and doesn't care. So we need to in place effective sanctions against Russia, and we need to give the Ukrainian army the heavy metal it requires to finish the job. For God's sake, too many war crimes, enough already.
Подождите, пока вся съемка пройдет.
Да нет, нормально.
La stessa ti spiega l'atmosfera di adesso. Zapartaj, quando fai il minuto. Ok.
Are you done, guys? Finished? Just for fun, just like to clear the territory. This is like general never heard of.
So this is what they do with body bags in Ukraine these days. Kyiv Diary, day 41 of Vladimir Putin's war. Yesterday I went to Bucha, northwest of here, and saw Vladimir Putin's corpse factory at work. First of all, we saw 2 Russian soldiers. Their bodies had been burnt, left by some railway tracks. Then on Station Street, Vokzalna, we saw in a house which hadn't been hit and so was intact. In the back there were 2 corpses of Ukrainian civilians. One had been shot in the back of the head, and the other guy had been shot in his forehead. That's executions. They weren't soldiers, they were wearing civilian clothes, and to murder civilians at point blank range is a war crime. While we were there, the local authorities zipped up the 2 civilian corpses in body bags. And then we went to the mass grave. Now, it's not a conventional mass grave. It's not as if somebody dug a hole and then shot a lot of people and put them in that. It's just the hole that was dug for all the people the Russians were killing. Some of those people had been killed, like the people we saw, who'd been executed. Some had been killed in the shelling. Some may have been killed in car crashes. But nevertheless, the story is there were 280 people, some of them soldiers, but mostly civilians, who'd been killed while the Russians occupied Bucha. For me personally, this is a line in the sand. I cannot see a world in which we can deal with someone like Vladimir Putin, him having invaded Ukraine in this way, and him and his army having no respect for human life. Putin gave some kind of gong to the soldiers who fought in Bucha. Now, I saw some of the civilian dead with my own eyes. One guy shot in the back of the head, another guy shot in the face. The mayor says that 9 out of 10 of the civilians killed in Bucha, something like 900 people, were shot. And normally in war, people die through artillery, it's long range. But what happened in Bucha was the Russian army went round killing people, civilians, again and again and again. There's an issue about pictures, which lots of good people back home in London, around the world, are going, oh, please don't show those pictures. And I kind of get it, I understand it. But at the same time, I saw a man who had been executed, a bullet to his forehead, during the Russian army occupation. I also saw another man that had been shot in the back of the head. Now, these are war crimes against civilians. Multiple incidents of this. But I think there is a problem with comfortable people in comfortable places in the West not truly understanding the depth, the intensity of the agony here. And so I think it's necessary for people to realize the reality, the truth of war, to see some of these pictures. I know it's difficult, but it's so much worse for the poor people there. Hey, love from Kiev. Kiev Diary, day 65 of Vladimir Putin's war. Last night, while the UN Secretary General was in town, it's believed 5 cruise missiles were fired at the capital city. 3 of them were taken down by Ukrainian civil defense, AKAK, and this is the result of at least 1 that got through. 10 people were injured, 4 in hospital. The Ukrainians have been saying for some time that the UN Security Council is broken because the Russians keep on vetoing motions against their stupid and brutal war. And I agree with them. This is evidence that the 1945 peace settlement with Russia as a guarantor of world peace is broken and wrong, and this is not on. So we've got to do something new to ensure world peace, and the first thing we've got to do is help the Ukrainians finish this war. The second thing is to call the Russian army to account for its war crimes. This is a civilian target. This too is a war crime. And number 3, we've got to shape a new world order where freedom and peace democracy and the rule of law matter. Right now, Russia doesn't give a damn. This is the shopping mall that was hit by the Russian missile. The air raid siren sounded, 1,000 people were in it. A lot of them left, thank God. 18 people have been found dead, another 40 or so are missing, presumed dead. The Russian missile was an X-22. The rocket system was first launched in 1962. Yes, that's right, it's 60 years old. The probable target wasn't here because this is a catastrophe for the Kremlin. The probable target was either the oil refinery, which is close by, 10 miles away, or the bridge, which is maybe a mile away. Whatever. This is a war crime. To send a hopelessly inaccurate 60-year-old rocket system against a city of 200,000 people is a war crime. So, what are we going to do about this? Eh? Are we going to let this continue? Or are we going to help the Ukrainians finish the job? The problem I've got is that I've seen this happen again and again and again, and at least some of this stuff, the smell of destroyed life, not just burnt homes, but also there is some smell of destroyed human life here as well. Reminds me of the first time I saw this stuff, which is in 2000 in Chechnya, 22 years ago. Vladimir Putin is a monster and he's a war crime, and we've got to stop him, and we've got to help our Ukrainian friends stop him. For God's sake, enough already. Kyiv Diary, day 107 of Vladimir Putin's war. I'm actually not in Kyiv, but in an undisclosed location. And I'm with the training battalion of the Ukrainian Volunteer Corps. And they have a simple message to Vladimir Putin. The thing is, I hate guns, I hate violence, I hate bang bang. But having said that, unless these people fight, then the Russian army will be here, and they rape and they loot and they steal and they kill. So they have no alternative. The problem that the West has got at the moment is that we're not sending them enough heavy metal, enough heavy artillery so that they can finish the job. And the reason we're not doing that is absurd and foolish, because if you study Vladimir Putin as I have done for 22 years, there's no question, if you give him something, it won't be enough. So we've got to help these people fight. By the way, as you can see, I'm still wearing my lucky orange hat, and it's hot. But, you know, you spend time with the Ukrainian Volunteer Corps and you get it. They're fighting like tigers. A rough old day. I went to Roman Ratushny's funeral today. He was a green activist who made his name fighting a property developer who sought to asphalt out a beautiful piece of green Kyiv pretty much in the centre of town. And he stuck to his guns and he won his argument. And he became a little bit famous for that. When the war started, he joined up, and earlier this month he was killed fighting for Ukraine, fighting against Vladimir Putin's killing machine. He was 24 years old. At his funeral, Ukrainian priests sang this very sonorous music, and stood at the edge of the crowd, and I saw a beautiful woman walk away, her eyes streaming with tears. I'm a writer, not a photographer, and there's something about photographers is that they take the the photo. But at that particular moment, I felt so sorry for this poor woman that I didn't do that. I just want to read to you a few lines from George Orwell, which is, I was reading today. He wrote this, 41. The fact is that the ordinary short-term case for pacifism, the claim that you can best frustrate the Nazis by not resisting them, cannot be sustained. If you don't resist the Nazis, you are helping them and ought to admit it. I think that's true. I think for the Nazis then, we have Russian fascism now. Vladimir Putin is a fascist. His invasion is fascist, and we need to fight it as best we can. As best we can. War Diary Day 178. The electricity is still on, the internet is still on, and I'm still wearing my lucky orange hat. But there is a Russian tank down the end of this street. Vlad, come and join me. This, of course, folks, is Vlad Demchenko, the guy who arrested me on day 2 of the war. What's that, by the way? What's that funny noise? Thunder?
Explosions. Also about electricity, it's not very true. Look at the Bakhmut. There is no electricity, no water in the town, and I don't think they will get it very soon.
And so the ridge, the town Bakhmut itself, that's in Ukrainian hands?
Yeah, like right after, like we're now on western side of the city. On the eastern side there is a street, there is already a Russian infantry sitting. So we are pretty close to them.
And that noise then?
It was our outcoming.
Our outgoing, okay, yes. I'm all right to be wearing my silly orange hat here?
Until I will tell you it's not.
Okay, right, yeah, because he knows what he's doing, even though he did arrest me on day 2 of the war. That was outgoing as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
That's incoming. Yeah. You can, that's outgoing.
No, it's incoming.
Oh, is it? Oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's actually very easy to find out. Outgoing sound is always round, it's like accurate, it's like boom, boom. And incoming is always cut in the pieces, it's not accurate, it's like
it's more like a fart. That was incoming, yes.
Echo.
Yeah. And also, if it's really close, you can
You
feel
will
it.
hear a lot of incomes for next days, John. If you are willing to stay with us, you will be tired of listening to them. You will sleep like a baby, whatever happens. Planes, this is scary thing, for real. Planes are really scary. This is like not scary anymore.
Yes.
Our guys. So yeah, John Sweeney in Bakhmut, Ukraine, still Ukraine.
Yes. So, I have a simple message for Vladimir Putin, and it goes like this. Vladimir Putin, do fuck off. Love from Bakhmut. You want to empty a city of 100,000 people, you do a Bakhmut. This is what Vladimir Putin's killing machine did to Bakhmut. The city is pretty much empty. There's maybe 1,000 people left. Middle-aged couples walking home laden with water because the water is cut. A guy runs a kebab shop, the last one in town, where he had something to eat. An old lady in a kiosk selling Coke and iced tea, not very cold. And a beautiful old lady, a member of the aristocracy of the human soul, who I think has been disabled her whole life. She's wheelchair bound, electricity's gone, but she doesn't want to leave because she organises the aid for the disabled people here, some of whom are paralysed, and she fears that if she goes there will be nobody to look after her flock, if you like. We're going to try and do something to help her get some kind of electricity supply so she can communicate with her aid donors and contact with the outside world. You could call these people the walking dead of Bakhmut. There's a bit of, I think that's incoming. But I'm also thinking about the walking dead, the other Walking Dead, people in Westminster and in Britain and in Europe and in the United States who don't get what Vladimir Putin's doing, who kind of want to appease him. And there's no chance of that whatsoever. If we appease him, we're foolish. That's outgoing. But we've got to stand up to Vladimir Putin's killing machine, or else the whole of Ukraine will be like what's behind me. Vovo, what's behind us?
It's called Technicum. Basically, it's a high school, it's like special school where people go for education after school, but not university. It's something between the school and university.
And it's been smashed to pieces.
Yeah, I think there is the biggest hall. If you will show our audience what's going on, and don't look like a military was here. No.
No military at all that I can see outgoing.
Yeah.
Good. So the argument we keep on having is, I say this is Vladimir Putin's war. What do you think?
Yeah, Vladimir Putin came and just pushed the button and ruined it. No, of course. And you know what? If you will show this building to Russians, I'm sure 80% of them will be like, yeah. There's definitely a reason to kill Ukrainians. 100%.
I don't trust Russian opinion polls, because people know that if they say something critical of the regime or do something critical of the regime, they can end up in prison or they may die. So
John,
I don't trust those numbers.
I think your problem is you're not a Russian speaker, and I am. And I reading what they're writing in their books, newspapers, in their social media, which is even more important. And it's real people. And man, what they're writing, it's awful. And you know what? After 14, Ukraine was telling like to a world
outgoing.
Like outgoing. They are crazy. And man, even those liberals who you support now, after EU said that they will provide a visa ban, they said, okay, we will switch from like peaceful people to a nuclear threat. Man, this is the real liberal who will just like that say, okay, you will take our visa away, we will push a nuclear button.
And this, by the way, this isn't just Vlad or Vovo talking. This is a common view of many, nearly all of my Ukrainian friends think the same as him.
Because they are crazy. They want to use a nuclear weapon.
I don't think they're going to do that, but we can carry on arguing because it is a democracy. We have a simple message from Bakhmut to Vladimir Putin. It goes like this: Vladimir Putin, do fuck off. War Diary, day 180. Bakhmut's that way. The Russian army's to my left. If I flip the camera, you'll see what's happening. This is a trench which the Ukrainian army has prepared earlier. Does it say on blue, Peter? There's Vlad having a gossip. Excuse me, chaps. And so this is a bit weedy here because it's not actually in super active service. Here's a couple of doggies looking after the gang. They're slightly wary of them because they're a bit shell-shocked. A tank targeted this place and has been doing so for a number of days. Hit it at least twice, or hit the ground very close twice. What's so... Hi mate, how are you? Bloody awful.
Here.
This is good.
We live in here.
Sure, you live in here?
Here.
Okay, show me. Wow. Very good. Very good.
All right. We win always.
Good. A message to Vladimir Putin.
Putin хуйло.
Which means Putin's a dickhead, the way I would like to say. Vladimir Putin, do fuck off.
Fuck off, yes. Putin is хуйло.
Putin's a dickhead. So folks, this is, you can see the Union Jack. It's from Britannia. This is, so it's a British meals ready to eat. Can you open it? Open it.
Yeah.
Cheers. So this is a gift from the British taxpayer, and I'm very proud to be one. Don't mess with Botsman. Isn't that nice? So what we got?
Coffee.
Coffee, great.
With milk.
Premium hot dogs, fantastic.
Yeah. Chocolate.
Chocolate.
drink,
drink,
cake,
cake,
and bacon.
bacon grill, mate. She's got no owners. No, she's got no owners, yeah? She's lost home. She's homeless, and she came to you.
Come to us, yeah. Come to us and live with us.
Is she okay? Bang! Is she okay?
Very nice doggy.
Very nice doggy. It feels like I'm in a time machine going back to 1914-18. You can hear the crumps, and as I get in here, I'm in a concrete bunker. I don't know if you can see it, but let's show it, turn it round. This is where the guys sleep. 4 beds. And the rest of it is... So, Vladimir Putin, you've managed to turn a country at peace in the 21st century into something from the Somme. I'm in the centre of Bakhmut again. There's some people around, as you can see the lady in the yellow jersey, but behind there's an old gentleman and his dog slowly making their way across the main square. It's pretty grim. Vlad, we went to a shop and we met Marina, who was great. What did she say?
Marina said that her life is destroyed. She was very successful businessman according to Bakhmut level. She was owner of 2 shops. She managed to buy apartment for each of her kids, which I think main target for every parents here in Ukraine. And now everything ruined, and she attached to it, and she don't want to leave because it's her business here, it's her life here, and she's nobody outside of Bakhmut. But she lives in the most dangerous place of the city.
Yeah.
That's insane, to be honest. And you know what these signs behind us mean? Like on the top, like this sign?
Yeah.
It means like Bakhmut to Wroclaw, 1,600 hryvnia. It's just like incredible. From here, like only a couple months ago, half a year ago, you can take a bus and go straight to European Union from this square.
And now you can't.
I think John needs to buy a mic, because actually you can't hear all sounds of explosion around, because wind is blowing hardly and you miss it, like, but for real it's just like boom, boom.
Are you calling me an amateur?
Yeah, you don't have a mic.
Bakhmut Diary, day 288 of Vladimir Putin's war. As you can tell, the place has been hammered. There's an artillery duel going on, and in the distance, smoke from artillery. That's outgoing, but there's also some rifle fire. This is the closest kind of contact that I've ever heard. I've been here twice. Once in August for 5 days and once in October. So the other side of the argument is the Wagner army. That's controlled by Prigozhin, who is the gangster chef who's very thick with Putin. On this side, the Ukrainians have taken a hammering. They still hold the city, obviously, because I wouldn't be here otherwise. But the Russians have done well in the south. So this, folks, you can hear it, is a simple argument for helping the Ukrainians with heavy metal and with money and with as much as they need as possible. Because otherwise, what the Russian killing machine has done to Bakhmut, they will do to the whole of Ukraine. So, listen to this, take note, help Ukraine defend democracy, the rule of law and free speech. By the way, there is no way on earth I could say any of this on the other side of the front line. because there people like me fall downstairs, or jump out of windows, or get poisoned, or get shot, or go to jail. So, on behalf of lots of my old and dead Russian journalist friends and the free Ukraine, love from Bakhmut. Oh, and Vladimir Putin, do fuck off. Hi, I'm walking back to my gaff from a milk bar, and I told my fellow reporters from everywhere in the world a line from a lovely play by Tom Stoppard, Night and Day. And what happens in the play is that a brave and good and young journalist is killed, and his lover, when I saw the play, I think it was in the 80s, the lover was played by Diana Rigg, beautifully, and she turns on the old hack, somebody a bit like me, and says, it's not worth it. It's not worth the heartbreak beauty queen or the crossword, and it's certainly not worth the leader. And the old reporter says, yes, you're right. But also the other thing. I've been all around the world and I've seen people do terrible things to each other, but it's always worse in the dark. Information is light. So, you may ask, what the fuck, John Sweeney, at your age, are you doing in Kiev right now? And the answer is, information is light.
А наш вовчик наливає, а всі гості випивають за многое літ, многое літа, та посієм жито, та поставим копи, та вдаримо в гопи, гоп, а черочка гоп. Хлоп, з Новим роком, з днем народження.
Дякую.
З новим роком. З твоїм новим роком.
Ура.
Happy birthday, mate.